concept was silly, ridiculous, a waste of time. They didn't want that's why they were so successful. That's why they got away.
Made a living in very dangerous.
This is really an integrated blue together.
Dianne Andrews in black and white.
Welcome to Dianne Andrews in Black and White, and I'm your host, Dianne Andrews. Thanks for joining us today, whether you're in our 3 million homes in Louisiana and Mississippi, including New Orleans, Lafayette, and Baton Rouge. You'll see all our social media handles here. You see our shows on social media. We have 25,000 people on Facebook, LinkedIn, and the other social media outlets. Also, you can watch us on YouTube anywhere in the world. So we appreciate you viewing Dianne Andrews in Black and White. We're going to talk about finances, what's really going on in what was the best economy in the world, which is now at levels of unemployment of 14.9%, back like the Great Depression between 1931 and 1933, which got as high as almost 25% unemployment. We had almost 30 million people file unemployment claims in the last 2 months. So come on back to Dianne Andrews. I have 2 financial experts that are going to be with us, and we're going to talk about some things that are going on that can help you in your life and help you in your financial situation. Come on back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. So when we look at oil, what's your take? Do you think we need to be more independent, Paul, or do you think that being oil secure is good enough, which we are today, which we weren't 3 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think with new technology, with fracking, which is how we've rose to become the leader.
Some people don't agree with fracking, do they?
People have different opinions.
Controversial.
Yeah, why is that? Why it's tell me exactly what fracking is.
Well, they inject a mixture into the ground that causes I guess let's just say breaking, causing a fracture in the plates of the earth, and they had it's kind of I guess concealed would be the better word for it, in Oklahoma. They started having more earthquakes in Oklahoma than they'd ever had. And they just said, oh, well, it must be the plate slipping. But then they finally came to light that the truth was that the fracking was causing the earthquakes.
Wow.
And so you have that problem with fracking. And then the other problem is this mixture that comes up back out of the ground, what do you do with it? Mm-hmm. And how do you store that? And then the other thing is all this contaminating the water supplies. So that's what the controversy.
So it's the yin and the yang, right? We need oil, but what do we do with the other side of the coin?
Yeah, does it cause earthquakes? Does it contaminate the water?
But a lot of states are fracking, right? Texas does it also, don't they?
Texas does.
I think Texas does a lot of fracking. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I think I read that.
Yeah.
And don't we have a large oil reserve? Where do we keep that? Does anybody know?
We have one here in Louisiana.
Louisiana?
We have they store the oil down in the salt mines.
Oh, okay. Now, natural gas, we're still number one. This state is number one, right? For oil, natural gas coming through this state is still number one. I don't think, has that been affected at all with this? What about stocks for natural gas companies and oil companies? Paul, you would know more about that than we would probably.
There's a significant turmoil in that industry right now. I mean, when oil decreased and actually went negative for the first time in history, natural gas oil companies that are in that pipeline business, whether it's exploration, production, midstream, storage, whatever area, I mean, they all dropped significantly.
Mm-hmm. Their stocks did.
Their stocks did.
Did they lose 50% of the value, or?
I mean, some of them lost 80-90%.
What about Exxon?
In some cases.
And
Exxon,
big ones.
I think Exxon's down about 40% roughly year to date.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know there's been some feuding between Russia and Saudi Arabia, I think, about how to keep the price of oil at a certain amount, right? Has that been settled, or do you know what's going on with that, Paul? I know you keep up with that stock stuff.
That's the OPEC Plus agreement.
Yeah.
Which is what they're trying to iron out right now. They're still working to get that resolved. But I think President Trump just recently stepped in and said that they needed to get it resolved so that way it would stabilize the market and start to increase the cost of oil, because you really need oil to be probably around $30-$35 a barrel.
I know you people don't like that, because that means your tanks at the gas tanks are going to go up, but the economy will be better if you own stock, right? or
even if you don't own stock, just in general, everybody's standard of living will increase.
Right. I've never seen it like this before with oil, from what I've read, right? It's never been, as you said, it went negative. I saw that day.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's because of Russia and Saudi arguing, I guess. Or they've got a price war going on, right?
Yeah, well, the state of Louisiana collects a lot of royalties from oil production, and they I think, budget for about $50 a barrel. And so now that the price of oil is down that low, it's going to affect the.
What is it a barrel right now? You said you all about
I think roughly 26.
Oh, well, half of what we budget for.
It'll cause the state budget to be below what was projected to be. So it has an impact on on the ability of our state government to do what it needs to do for the citizens of the state.
Yeah, and like if you look at places like New Orleans, I think the mayor has said there'll be no festivals the rest of the year. I think she's already predicted that. And we don't know if the Saints will play in Dome with people or without people. Do we know yet? I know you have season tickets, Paul.
Well, I mean, again, there's some things.
This has changed the way we live, basically.
Just a lot of unknowns.
For China, it wouldn't change anything because I think people often forget, this is called the Communist Party of China, or the Chinese Communist Party. They are a communist state. I think people think of them as being free like us, but they're not free, and we're getting less freedoms because of these kinds of things. Where with COVID, I don't think too much changed in China at all, based on their freedoms.
Right.
They didn't have freedoms anyway.
No.
There was a big problem with Hong Kong trying and China being a part of a communist country when they were free for 200 years.
Yeah, I think having grown up in this country and,
traveled all over.
Well, I think we just don't realize the freedoms that we have as Americans, and I think we don't realize our standard of living. You go to Sweden or any of the countries in Scandinavia, and they're very proud of their socialistic systems.
Well, Sweden never closed down. They never did a shelter in place.
Yeah, but they're very proud of their socialistic systems over there. But you look at how the people live.
Right. It's not like us.
No, a lot of people don't have cars.
Right.
They walk or ride their bikes to work, which is friendly to the environment.
Right, right. Yeah, but hey, I don't think Americans want to do that. And people realize Sweden, how large is Sweden? 20, 30 million maybe? We're 350 million people when you add everyone in here. 330 million by the census. And we're more than that, really, in this country. But we're so much bigger. If you look at every small country in the European area, you have to lump them all together to be the size of America when you look at the things that they do. Even Canada, people talk about their healthcare system. Canada has less people than California because most of it's ice right after you get above Toronto and all those states. They don't have but about 40 million people either in Canada. I was looking at it because a friend of mine lives there. So, but when we talk about, oil we're hoping comes back, that's a big part of the industry here, as you're talking about, even our industry. And gas is down too, is that all lumped together, oil and gas?
They kind of follow each other.
Right.
Yeah. They're kind of tied to each other, and of course, we have plants here, the refineries.
But let's be real, if we don't have people to buy gas, people can't get back to work. How do we even buy gas? I mean, California is now saying, Governor Newsom is saying probably August, when they have only 500 more deaths in the state of Louisiana. It seems like they did a hell of a job out there, a real good job out there. And New York, I can understand, you got 27,000 deaths, but California doesn't have many. And they're saying August now. That's what LA County mayor said yesterday. Then he said maybe he'll open up beaches today. But you're not going to make money on beaches. Right.
I mean, Louisiana does well when we have oil exploration. You know, we have drilling off the coast, and
We can't even do that now
it's been curtailed. You know, it's been,
because of COVID.
well,
People-
no, well, I mean, I don't think it's come back. To me, I don't think it's come back since they had that Horizon.
Deepwater Horizon, that was
Deepwater.
about 5 years ago, huh?
Yeah,
6?
yeah. Well, you know, I mean, when they had
It was
that,
a while ago now.
they stopped
Before
all.
Trump.
The government stopped all the drilling, the deep water drilling, and so those rigs left here.
That's right. I do remember. I did a show on that
You know,
back then.
and
It was
they
about
went-
6 years ago.
You know, and they went across.
And they didn't come back.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was really interesting. They discovered oil, big reserves off of coast of Senegal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and this goes back a couple
In
of years.
Africa?
Yeah, and the well that the rig or whatever that made that discovery was a Cajun Express.
Really?
So guess
From
what?
here. So he got the money either way it was going, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it left here, went all the way across the Atlantic and discovered, and so, you know, and then a lot of those rigs left and went to Venezuela.
Right.
They're not coming back.
No, they're not.
Because it costs so much money per day to move those.
Right.
You know, as long as they can work over in Venezuela.
Right. That was under President Obama that he wouldn't allow the drilling after Deepwater Horizon.
So, I mean, we've lost that off the coast of Louisiana.
Friends of mine, as you making me think about something, Pete, friends of mine who were doing offshore work,
Yeah.
they made very good money
Well, they do.
doing that. And I remember they had no jobs. I thought it had come back, somebody had never came back. I didn't know.
Well, I mean, those rigs have never come back to my
Yeah,
knowledge.
no, you're right.
I mean, and I don't think they're going to.
That was a big industry for Louisiana. You know, down that coast, a lot of people made their living off of the offshore guys coming in, right? And people, restaurants, as we talked about, and all kinds of other industries down there based around that offshore drilling, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're still doing offshore drilling, but I think the deep water wells
Are gone.
rigs are gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they're going to come back.
Not at this point. That's been 5 years ago at least, I know, because Trump's been in office going on 4 years.
Yeah. So I mean,
And that was about 2 years before he took that. That was probably 2015. 2015.
I mean, I don't think they'd ever left the coast of Louisiana if it wouldn't have been the fact that they couldn't drill here.
Right? Why would they? They were happy here.
Yeah. So I mean, they went across, you know, to Africa and Venezuela, and you know, enlisted.
And a lot of guys lost jobs. I remember that.
Yeah.
And then the towns down there lost a lot of money. A lot of stuff went out of business then. That's right, Pete.
Yeah.
You're right. So what else? What would you tell people? We were talking earlier about to talk to people about, you know, Medicare and how Medicare pays and some of the advantage plans, the HMOs, the, you know, the Humanas, the WellCare for people of a specific age may really want to investigate which plan that they get with. What were you saying about that, Pete?
Well, I like the traditional Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's kind of a controversial subject. I have a lot of clients that have the Advantage plans.
But it depends. Like if you're 65 and you're running around going to the gym, I mean, you know, you can still, you're driving, you're running around having a great life because they give you free gym membership, you said, and they do a lot of things for you.
And it doesn't cost anything.
Right.
But, you know,
They don't have any deductible in that plan.
Well, they just take your premium and that's it.
Uh-huh.
You know, and so it's good, you know, for people that are on a budget, you know, and can't afford or don't want to pay the extra money for the traditional plan. But when you have a catastrophic illness, you see the difference between the two.
Right.
You know,
As you know, I was in healthcare for many years, geriatric healthcare, and they would come into most of our people were homebound. And all had to be homebound, a lot were bedbound. Yeah. And so they were really sick. And so they didn't need the HMOs because when they went in the hospital, they had to pay, or they didn't get the proper, if they needed a ventilator, you know, they weren't going to be put on it. And certain equipment, they just didn't put them on it. Because let's be real, that's an intermediary between you and Medicare. They're there to make money. Yeah. So that's how they run their business. So they would come in and they would ask us, they couldn't have us. They couldn't have home health anymore. So a lot of them say, well, then I don't want this. Yeah. So they would want to get off those plans.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you just look at rehab, you know, like say you have to have rehab. If you have traditional Medicare, they cover the first 20 days. And then after that, you go 21st to the 100th day, you have a deductible. If you have a supplement, it's fully covered. If you have an Advantage plan, you only have coverage for 20 days, and then that's it. Done. That's it.
The rest on you if you want it.
Yeah, so
that's expensive.
Yeah, see, so that's a big difference if you ever have a stroke or you fall.
Oh yeah, you need more than 20 days of rehab.
You need more than 20 days of rehab. I mean, you're not guaranteed that 100 days, but if you do,
Medicare is a really good insurance. Let's not ever forget how good Medicare is.
It's very good,
Now, let's talk about stocks. What's going on with the stock market? That's your bailiwick. Because I called you one day, hey, I'm losing a lot of money on stock.
So, look, the economy was doing well. Everything, we were firing on all cylinders. We hit all-time highs.
Yeah.
About Dow 30,000 in January. And then February, we started to see the first signs of the stock market dropping. And it dropped, there's a term, the bull and the bear market. So
Explain to the audience what a bull versus a bear market is.
Sure. So while there's not a standard definition of a bull and bear market, it's generally accepted that it's a 20% decline is what shows as a bear market. So we hit our peak in February. Markets dropped, more than 20%.
So if we were smart, we would have bought more then in February.
We'd have been buying it all the way down, chasing it down, February, and then rebounding.
I'm sure some people did.
A lot of people did.
Yeah.
A lot of people did. It depends on everybody's situation.
Yeah.
Some people don't have extra funds, and some people have been sitting on cash waiting for the eventual pullback that they thought was going to happen. But now, technically, we're in a new bull market because we've had we've had more than a 20% increase.
Because I was reading about that. The labor market is not, going along with the stock market as it usually does because they said this was expected. So the stock market is pretty much okay. Like you said, it's back up to the 20% that it had lost.
Right.
And the labor market is the worst we've had since the Depression. So it's kind of an unequal situation, but reading the articles in Forbes and everywhere said because we knew that this was going to happen. When COVID was announced and the president announced what we had to do, along with Dr. Burke and Fauci, we knew that the labor market was going to tumble.
Right.
But the stock market did tumble and then came back. How low did Netflix get? Because that's a very expensive stock. Did it even go down?
I don't know what the exact
Look like my cousin bought stock and it wasn't down that much, maybe $100.
I don't know the exact share price, but it has since rebounded. All the technology companies have rebounded significantly. You're right.
And oil and gas has rebounded. Their stock too?
Oil and gas has not rebounded.
Their stock has not.
They've bounced a little bit off the lows, but they definitely haven't rebounded. Cruise ships haven't rebounded. Airlines continue to have issues as well.
What do you all think with the airlines? I see some. Have you been to CVS? I went in for the first time, and this 2 months I went in the other day to CVS with my mask and everything on, and they have a plexiglass screen panel between you now and the cashier, and you bag your own groceries, and that's all over the country, I understand. And everyone's going to that. Even McDonald's has plexiglass that comes down for. Bougie eats hamburgers. I don't eat them, so I get them some hamburgers. But that goes down where they send you the food under, so your respiratory area can never talk to their respiratory area, so you can't send out or they can't send you anything in, which I think is very smart. So the plexiglass panel industry ought to be growing a lot right now because everybody's putting that in everywhere, all over the country. Have you been in CVS? Have you seen? I said, and it was it's more work on us, less on the cashier. I bet they really like that because you know where the credit card was out there on your side also. Now she are back there. The plate is here, plexiglass. You take everything out of your cart and you hold it up, and she senses it with the digital reader, the amount of money. She scans it from there, and then you put it in your bag, and you bag it yourself. It was like I was going into a different world. When I came out, it's like hibernation, right? And you go out and you see what has happened in 6 weeks. It's hard to believe the transformation. And as I do these shows, like the telejustice with, everything is court. Supreme Court's online, right? You can see it for the first time. All our court systems are online. Teleeducation. I just did a show with Dr. Sherbert and one of his teachers at the East Baton Rouge Readiness Academy. That's for students who've been expelled. And they've got everything teleeducation. It is amazing. Or either they pick up a packet, because I was wondering about people with Wi-Fi who don't have it. They pick up a packet weekly. It is amazing how quickly this country has transformed into more of a Wi-Fi internet kind of business remote. I hear a lot of people say, oh wow, like real estate agents in New York. She said, I heard one talking, she said, I was paying thousands and thousands of dollars for prime territory in Manhattan. I don't need that. I'm selling just as much as I was selling before, right? With my brokers, my agents all over wherever they live, because you do it all on the internet now. So I think, and I think you all agree, this world has changed, as you were talking about earlier, Pete. And I think these changes are going to stay. Some are good, some are not good. Some are good for some people, some are not good. You know, everything's yin and yang, and it depends on your vantage or disadvantage point, right?
That's right. Well, you know, people are predicting that commercial real estate will be impaired because of this.
I think so. From what I heard her saying, what I've been investigating, I don't see it coming back.
Well, you know, office space won't be necessary.
Right.
You know, commercial space won't be necessary.
New York was always already losing people hand over fist. I mean, because of, I think, and so is California. You go to Nevada, everybody over there is in line for license, or California, because of the high tax and all the other things in California. You saw with Elon Musk, right? What did you think about that? What, you saw that?
In Texas.
Well, they changed their mind. Yeah, he threatened them. I'm going to move to Texas because they told him he couldn't operate his plant, even using PPE and precautions. So he said, I'm going to move to Texas or Nevada. He's got a plant out there. He's Tesla, right?
Yeah.
He's got a plant in Nevada already. And this is the last American car made in California, probably one of the few made in America, right? And they were telling him he couldn't do it. And he said, I'm going to do it. I mean, this is one of the richest men in the world. Why would you want to lose that tax money?
Right.
Some things they do out there on the West Coast. I have 2 aunts out there and all kind of cousins. And everybody's talking about leaving. It was a beautiful place. But it's just so difficult to live there with the taxes they charge people and the housing industry, what it costs out there to live. And you go right next door to Nevada and the house is half the price. Mm-hmm. It's a strange place, California. I guess the last one turned the lights off, right? And now they're not going to reopen until August, at least. I don't understand it, not even the beaches.
Yeah.
And what about Michigan? I mean, this woman told people you can go in the store, the governor of Michigan, but don't buy paint. Let's say you want to paint the wall, right, while you're at home. She was telling them what they could actually buy in the store. Did you all see the protest in Michigan? Yeah, they've been protesting the governor of Michigan. And she was telling them what they could buy and what they couldn't buy in the store. It's almost like a Gestapo. I'm thinking, are we in China? Is not just the supply chain moved here? Has the whole philosophy moved here? And sometimes it seems like with some of the things. But like I said, at least 8 states did not do. They did their own kind of orders, but they never shut down completely. In Arkansas and South Dakota, I know were 2 of them. North Dakota, too, I think, didn't shut down.
Well, we definitely have lost some freedoms in this last pandemic.
How do they do with freedoms when they're in the Constitution and you lose them and never get them back? How does that work?
Okay.
You never get them back?
No, I mean, you supposedly can't lose them in the Constitution.
But we do.
Well, I think, you know, people that would be legal scholars would argue that, you know, some of our constitutional rights have been eroded, you know, either rightly or wrongly over the, you know.
So they're not required to make an amendment or something when they do these things?
No, I mean,
the Congress or
the
President?
The Supreme Court interprets, you know, if it's in violation of the Constitution can be amended, but, you know, a lot of times some of our constitutional rights are limited by a Supreme Court decision.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I mean.
Well, Pete, back to the point you made and we were talking about on commercial real estate. I mean, that's going to be devastating to the cities around and to the owners of the real estate because they're going to lose all their monies, right, of the commercial properties. So I would say, and tell me if I'm wrong, is this a bad time to buy a building, a commercial building, y'all?
Well, I mean, if you believe what a lot of people are saying, you know, that you know, people aren't going to need office space in the future, then, you know, it probably is not good to own an office building, you know, and if you own a strip center or have commercial real estate, it is probably, I mean,
mentioning strip centers. What about shopping centers? They were already on the way down.
Yeah. So I mean, brick and mortar, you know, businesses have been under attack ever since Amazon,
right?
You know, so I mean, you know, things are changing.
Yeah.
You know, I just thought about this. You know, sometimes our constitutional rights are expanded. You know, look at U.S. versus Windsor, which said that, you know, you had a constitutional right to same-sex marriages.
Yeah.
See, so I mean, that's a, you know, recent example of where, you know. And
I guess marijuana, huh? Is that got anything to do with constitutional law? Not, huh? Not being able to go smoke and get high and buy it.
Well, that's another. We can talk about that.
Yeah, that's another subject.
Another subject. But I mean, but you see, that's where.
Yeah, because that happened under President Obama. He was the one that the Congress and Obama were for the same-sex marriage.
Same-sex. Well, you know, but the case went to the Supreme Court, and they said, well, you know, you have a constitutional right, you know, that prevent people from same-sexes from marriage.
You know, I've never been against that, and maybe religion may have something, but if you're in love with someone, I think, you know, you live with them 20 years, they should be able to get whatever you left for them to have,
well,
right?
I mean, you know,
that's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was it impaired the rights of people that, you know, were same-sex and were living together or whatever and couldn't marry. They couldn't get the fringe benefits.
Right. I want to get you a Medicare, let's say, right?
Yeah, but Windsor was about the fact that the lady was taxed. You know, they were actually, I think, married in Canada or, you know, and then she died in New York or New Jersey, and they said, well, you know, they couldn't legally be married here, and so the government said, well, she left her estate to her spouse. But the IRS came in and said, well, no, legally she can't be a spouse because I think New York or New Jersey said that, you know, they couldn't legally be married there, and so they taxed her estate and imposed the, you know, the federal estate tax on it, and so she contested it. And,
but now, if I marry you, do they, like, even if, like, some places have common law, let's say these two men or two women live together and they never took the legal, can I sue you and get your benefits through the estate or however? If we're common law married, can you do that with same sex now?
Well, you know, we live in a civil state.
Louisiana, yeah.
So we don't have common law, and really, you know, that's kind of a myth.
Does it exist anywhere?
It doesn't really. I mean, I think there's very few states out of all 50 states in the District of Columbia.
Okay, Paul, let's talk about some of the industries. Like, I would assume, and I think from what we're seeing, more of the supply chain is going to come back to America, which is well needed, although we have to expect to pay more. But we make more here in America than a lot of the rest of the world and some of the world. But also, so manufacturing, there'll be a big increase in manufacturing in America, definitely in the pharmaceutical industry, I would think, with antibiotics, since 90% are made in China. What else are you seeing in other sectors?
So, I mean, some of the other sectors, like I said, are healthcare. Healthcare is obviously going to do well, probably continue to do well. We'll also have technology. I mean, if anything, people are using more technology during the shutdown. I mean, we're still all on our computers and phones and having Zoom meetings and Skype and everything else. So, yeah, those are two. So
what percentage of Standard & Poor's is technology?
Roughly 30%.
30%.
Roughly 30%.
And that's been going up over the last couple of months, or steady? Increasing.
Steadily increasing. I mean, take a look at the growth of companies like Amazon or Netflix that weren't around.
Right. 5 years, 10 years ago.
Or longer.
Yeah. This has been a very interesting conversation, and is there anything else you all would like to leave? Because we're about to close it down for my close. Okay.
Well, just thank you for having us here.
Oh, you're welcome, my good friends. So thanks very much for watching Dianne Andrews in Black and White. Come on back for the Dianne Andrews close. As usual, light your white candle. As I saw as a little girl in Rouge, Louisiana, that has stuck with me all my life, and ask you to light your light candle. If you can't do it physically, do it emotionally. But thank you very much, and keep the faith.